Hello and welcome to FCA Friday. This is Adulting 101. For Adulting 101, tax season is quickly coming up. So I figured it was a great way for us to check up on how to do some stuff with our checkbooks and also how to prepare for tax season. First of all, if you don't know anything about taxes or if you just turned 18, go to some place like TurboTax or something like that, something similar, H&R Block. Get your taxes done by somebody who knows what they're doing. And I know people always freak out. They're like, well, I don't trust them. Do some basic research, make sure they're accredited and things like that. Because if they mess up, they can get in trouble too. And if you mess up, the IRS could be down your throat and you could end up paying a lot more than you originally had to. Excuse me. So when you need to keep your pay stubs. If you don't know what a pay stub is, when you get a paycheck, there's going to be a paper that you get with it that says here's how much you paid for federal taxes, here's how much you paid for Medicare and stuff like that. That is your pay stub. That says what your gross amount was, what was taken out, and then your net pay. Your net pay, if you don't know the difference between gross and net, gross pay is what you actually got paid from the company. Then your net pay is what you actually get to spend money on. That is the money that is actually going into your account. Now, for reasons there's no reason other than greed, where companies, loan companies, and real estate companies and insurance companies, they're always going to ask what your gross pay is. Hundreds of dollars that you don't actually get in your paycheck. Your net pay is what you actually have in your paycheck that you can actually afford to spend on things. They're going to want to go before your taxes are taken out. Don't know why, that's just the way it is. But keep your pay stub. If you get paid, you probably have a way to keep track of it if you have an automatic payment through your phone, or if you get a automatic deposit. Once in a while you're going to want to get the copy or know where to go to get your pay stubs, because that's going to come in handy for your online banking. I get a physical piece of paper that I hold on to that makes it a lot easier for me, and I just keep them in order and keep them in a paper clip in a very secure place in my room. That's how you do that. Also, for tax season, what you are going to need is a form called the W-2. This is for Americans, by the way. I don't know how taxes work in any other country, but in the United States of America, you are going to need a W-2 form. If you don't know what that is, it's a piece of paper that your employer gives you that has the letter W and dash and then the number 2 in the upper right-hand corner. Any place you work, if you got a paycheck from there, I don't care if you worked there for a week, 2 weeks, a month, a couple months, if you worked anywhere, even if you changed jobs 4 times in the last year, from 2017 to 2008 to January 2018, you are going to need to get a tax form from every single employer. Some of them automatically mail them to you. Sometimes you're going to have to go and physically pick them up from your former employer. So you need to get this W-2 form and fill it out for every place you worked, because it's going to talk about your incomes, and that's where your pay stubs come in handy. What were you paid this month? What was your total pay? What did you get paid quarterly? All those questions are going to be asked, and if you have your pay stubs, you're going to be able to do that a lot easier. Also, people are freaking out about President Trump's tax reform thing. That does not apply to 2018. That will not come into play until 2019. So for this year, everything's going to need to be the same. You're going to need to itemize if you have a business, if you have a home office. You're going to need to itemize things that you bought for work. So if you bought a safe for your job, that goes onto a tax thing for your business. That is an item that you have to account for. Dependents. Don't try to fake dependents unless somebody is actually living with you and you are the main provider of them. That's what a dependent is. which, by the way, pets do not count as dependents, even if it's true. You're housing them and giving them food and taking care of their medical bills for the most part. They don't count. They're not like children. So you're going to need those things. But another important adulting thing is that you need to keep track of your banking expenses. A lot of people do online banking, but you're going to want a physical checkbook. One, this makes your life easier, so you can, if there's a discrepancy, you can write it down. You know what happened. And I'm going to show you how to fill out a check, how to keep track of your register, and all the ins and outs of that, and how to send in a paycheck, a physical paycheck, and how to fill that form out to the bank. So let's get started with that. This is a checkbook. You're going to have a plastic outside to keep the inside safe. You're going to have your register, and all the registers are going to look like this. There's going to be your name or number code. That's where you write down your check numbers over here. The date, the transaction description, that means whatever you paid for or your deposit, whatever it is, incomes, that's where you put here. Payment or withdrawal, so if you're taking money out, you put it in this box. If you're putting money in, a deposit or addition, you put it here, and then this is the total where you keep track of the total as you go down. Then you have an actual place to keep your checks. So your check is going to have your name, your street address. This is going to be different on every single check. It's a final number. Then this is where you make the payment out to, the date. Up here is where you put account numbers. Like if you're paying for a student loan, you normally put the last set of digits here. This is the total amount. Then this is the check number, and then this is the file number of the check. This is the region number. This is your actual bank number. So as you can see here, I blocked it out. But here's where your bank number is. This is what your actual account is. So don't let people see that number. Then this is your bank file number, the bank card insignia, and then your bank's name will be here. Other than that, the checks will all be relatively looking like this. So how you fill out a check. So as I said, if you need to, you always use a pen, never a pencil. But you're going to put your account number, whatever it is, you're going to stick it up there. Make sure it's legible. I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. The date, and then whatever the amount is. So if it's $100.10, when you come over here to the pay to the order of, this line is whoever you're actually going to be paying. So if, let's say you're paying a store, you put the store name, and that's who it goes to. Anytime you're filling out a check, it'll say who you need to make it out to, or if it's a person's name, you write the person's name there. Then you have to physically write out the numerical thing. So this is $100. You have to write the words $100 because that's what this amount is. And then for the cents, you put, in this case it's 10, so you want to put 10 over 100. If it's no cents, then you would put, so if we were to change this to 0, you would just put 0 out of 100. You can just, if there's no cents, you can just make it the dollars, but you do have to send that all the way out. Then down here at the bottom, you can put a note for what it's for, so you can say groceries. That's just really for your benefit. And then over here is your signature. And you put that, obviously, in writing. Then what you do here is when you come up to your register, you'll put your date. So it was 1/2/2018. If you use the check number, put the check number right here. So we can say 123. Make sure that this number in the corner of your check matches the check number here. That way you can go back and say, oh no, this was the check that I used for that. And so you put groceries at store, put the actual store name, and then the amount. It was $110. So if you have 1,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, you come over here to the total and you put 110. Then you just do your basic math. 0, 4, 4, 3, 1, 1. And you just keep doing that for every addition, and that way you'll have, when your bank statement comes, you can match them up. Note, you want to make, as I said, you want to make it a little bit more legible than I did. I was doing it for demonstration purposes at a weird angle. But as you're going down and you keep your running total, when your bank statement comes in, what your total at the end of the month and what the bank's total at the end of the month, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be identical. And here's why. If you just made a purchase yesterday and your bank statement comes in, that's not going to be on there. So the bank is going to say you have $50 more than you actually have because they didn't take out for that transaction yet. Or if you just put in your paycheck today and you get your bank statement today, you're going to have more money than the bank has processed. So they're usually not going to be the same. The absolute worst thing is if you have significantly more money in your total than the bank has, because that's when your checks can bounce, that's when you can go into negative balances, that's where the bad things happen. So if you have less money in here than the bank tells you you have, you're in pretty good standing. Now, if it starts to be more than a couple $100, like I said, because you went shopping yesterday or you just put in your paycheck, if you start to have hundreds and thousands of dollars where you're off, you're going to need, that's where keeping track of this is going to come in handy, because you're going to be able to go through and say, what's different? So you're going to go through their total and go through your total. And when you're doing that, you'll be able to say, wait, the bank says that I made a purchase in, New London, and I don't have a purchase for New London. And if you were getting gas in another city that you haven't been to, and then a significant amount of money was spent at a store in another place, that's where you can catch, and you can call your bank and go, excuse me, I think somebody has my credit card number or is using my number. I need to freeze my account and go over things, because that's how you catch those things. If you don't have it physically written down, if you don't keep track of your transactions, and you just go, oh, the bank statement says I have this, you could have more or less money and not know that it's getting taken out. This is also a thing that comes in handy when you're filling out your check. Don't leave a lot of space over here between the numbers, because people will, who are doing bad things, they'll slip another number in there. And that's also why you write this physically out over here, $100, because if they try to slip in and say that it's $1,100 and this only has $100, the bank's going to be able to check that and go, okay, something fishy is going on here as you're filling those things out. Now we're going to go over how to fill out a deposit slip for a physical check. This is a deposit slip. So here's the deposit, your bank's name. This number needs to match the bottom number on your check. So this is your account balance. Form numbers. You put the date, your name, and then down here you mark where it's going, into checking, consumer, savings, or business, whatever kind of account you have. And you just need to put a little X or a check mark. Then over here, the top is where you put cash, and here's where you put checks. So if you have a check, make sure you write these numbers close and put a line to make sure people can't add in other numbers. And if you have more checks, you can fill that out on the back for additional things, because this really only gives you room for cash and then 2 check spots. Then what you do is at the bottom, make sure that the numbers, the total, matches as you add up, and then mail it in with the check that you're bringing in. You cannot mail cash. just so you know. So you're going through and you realize you've made a mistake on your check. What do? What you do is you use a pen, but later on go through and write the word void on your check, VOID. You make sure that it goes through all your numbers so your check can't get reused. So if you're at the grocery store or somewhere and they hand the check back to you, like they slide it in and they give it back to you, pull it out, void it. Then make sure you write the void in your transaction thing. That way, if later on, if somebody goes, oh yeah, a jeweler contacts you and says, oh yeah, we received a check from you, and you're like, I didn't go to your company. Well, you wrote us a check, and it was like, what check number was it? Oh, it was check 123, and then you realize that you voided that check. What you always want to do is tear these things up once you void them, and either shred them or burn them, or at least tear them up and put them into different garbage cans so that people can't try to use your check money. You want to be really careful with that kind of stuff. That's why there was white out all over the checking things. But it's important to know how to do those things as an adult. Always make sure that whether you're mailing it in or you're physically going to the bank to do this, that you put it into your register. Because your register, that way you will know where everything is. That way if something happens, if you have automatic deductions, like if your electric bill automatically comes out every month, if you're suddenly if they call and say that there was insufficient funds, you can look and go, what happened? Oh, my paycheck didn't go in yet because I just put it in today, and you'll have to explain all that fancy stuff. But keeping track of your transactions, knowing how to fill out a check, what a check looks like, and how to fill out a physical deposit slip. I know most people have automatic deposits, but when you change jobs, some of them are not going to have you do that, and it's better that you know the old school quote unquote way how to do those things. That way you can keep track of your finances, because that's a major part of being an adult. That way you know how to make a budget. If you're going to have a wedding, you can go, okay, how much do I spend per month? Where can I cut corners? What do I have to go back on for saving for new furniture or a house or a wedding or a new baby that's coming in? There are those things that you do have to take into account, and being able to keep track of your checks and your checking will help you. If you have more than one bank or more than one checking account, you are going to have to do that for all of them, but it's better than suddenly having your money stolen and not know it because you didn't keep track, or not knowing that the check you just sent in to the mortgage company or to the bank for your house is going to bounce because you actually don't have the $200 you thought you had. So I hope that this helps you out, and I will talk to you all for the next FCA Friday and for Makeup Monday.